how we can build safer, more resilient croplands, starting from the ground up, literally. Our soils are under pressure, and of course, it comes from like a legacy pollutants, industrial residues, increasing scrutiny around the food safety. And I will outline a path forward based on detection, remediation, incentives, and traceability. Let's start with the question we were invited to address today. What innovations and actions can preserve croplands as a safe, sustainable foundation for food systems? Soil pollution touches policy, public health, market access, and food justice, and it requires us to think holistically across disciplines and across sectors. Pollutants come from multiple sources. Heavy metals like lead, arsenic, cadmium come from mining activities, fertilizers, legacy pesticides. Persistent organic pollutants like DDT, atrazine, dioxins, they used over decades. PFAS, the new forever chemicals that have been also around for decades, but we only started to study them in the last, I don't know, 20 years. They introduced via biosolids and industrial waste. Microplastics and additives from plastic mulch, compost, or even irrigation water also pose a big threat. We are seeing physical and biological changes in soils, acidification, microbial disruption, and declining nutrient cycling. This undermines productivity and increases the risk of contaminants entering the food and water systems. And this is fundamental issue not only for agriculture but also for the environmental health and the long-term human health. We well, we often think about big croplands in agriculture fields, but what I've been studying, and I would like to emphasize it in this presentation, that this pollution problems is not only for croplands but also for urban spaces. And urban agriculture actually can provide us with food access, especially in underdeserved areas in cities. In many cities across the United States, urban soils carry legacy of industrial fuel, lead-based paint, vehicle emissions. Studies have shown, and something I study, is that elevated lead levels found often in low-income neighbors where interest in community and home gardening is often growing fastest. So, in order for us to promote urban agriculture, we also need to ensure that urban soils are suitable for healthy produce. But there are solutions to have a cleaner soil and more like healthy food is to use raised beds filled with verified clean soil and geotextile barriers, publicly funded soil testing programs, and education on safe gardening practices and produce choices. This is something I've been working with. Is To support these ideas, I developed the Urban Soil Guide. It's a field and lab manual designed for educators, practitioners, people, or anyone who work in urban spaces and want to understand what is the soil beneath their feet. It offers practical protocols for soil sampling, risk assessment, decision making, and helps communities to take ownership of their own soil health and make informed choices in grounded in science. It's can be applicable not only this approaches in cornfield but also in a community garden. To respond meaningfully to innovations and agriculture challenges, we first need to detect contamination, pollution reliably and affordably. Standard lab tests are quite accurate, and but rather they can be slow and costly and not always acceptable or they're not always accessible. So we need to come up with a new field deployable technologies that put data into farmers' hands. Portable X-ray fluorescent devices. I've been using this device for many years, and it offers rapid metal screening right in the field. Within 60 90 seconds, you can get a whole array of different heavy metals. Another example is biosensor kits. Using engineered microbes, fluorescence, and in the presence of some toxins, it can actually reach 90% accuracy. Those are new innovations from Boston. Several US cities now offer subsidized soil testing to farmers and communities. There are also open access mapping tools, like in Washington, they have Dirt Alert that help flag high risk zones. So, making contamination visible empowers growers and planners to act early and wisely. This is also about transparency because consumers increasingly want to know not just how food is grown, but also in what kind of soil. That brings us to remediation. So, detection is the first step, and remediation is where the actual impact happens. The focus is not only on eradicating contamination, but on immobilizing toxins and restoring soil functions. So, there are amendments and fertilizers that we can actually use. Phosphate fertilizers can bind lead and cadmium, for example, into insoluble forms. Lime and silicates reduce the solubility of metals in acidic soils. Biochar, made from agricultural waste, absorb metals, retain moisture, and also support microbial recovery. Compost overall improves organic matter and can reduce bioavailability of both reduce bioavailability of pesticides and metals. These strategies already been tested, and I've in my research we used phosphate amendments and compost in New Jersey farms where we stabilized or immobilized lead and arsenic in farm soil because the soil was contaminated with known lead arsenate pesticides back in 20th century. So it's really important to use new amendments, recycle organic waste that we can use to not only sequester carbon but also improve soil health and immobilize existing pollutants. And also, it's really important the verification part. So, remediation must be measured through follow up testing to ensure that actually the risk was reduced. Um, well, even the best technologies won't scale without infrastructure and policy support. We need systems that reward contamination reduction. The carbon market, for example, offers such a model. Farms with lower emissions receive credits or price premiums. So, why couldn't we develop soil safety scores? Verified soil cleanup and traceability could translate into market value, compliance credits, or eligibility for grant programs. State of Maine, for example, is taking the lead by banning PFAS, the forever chemical, contaminated sludge, and funding farmers' relief and remediation trials. Public private models, especially those that engage in community labs, input suppliers, and regulators, are also essential. This brings us to traceability. So food traceability is evolving and soil is becoming more and more pronounced in this story. Buyers are beginning to ask questions like what contaminants are present in the growing environment? Were remediation practices in place? Can the source soil be verified as safe? So, traceability tools that include soil health data will become increasingly valuable not just for compliance, but also for branding, certification, and consumer trust. So, transparency can protect farmers, reassure consumers, and reduce risk along the supply chain. So to close up, soil is an infrastructure. It stores carbon, holds water, feeds our food system. It supports every terrestrial ecosystem we depend on. Through better detection, practical remediation, economic incentives, integrated traceability, we can make soil safe as a standard, or soil safety as a standard. So let's work together towards croplands and urban spaces that nourish today and in the future. Thank you very much.